coworker, Jenna Ray Cammons. And so we have Tanner Hackney, Christine Johnson, Jennifer Roberts, and Michael Montoya. And they're all awesome that work out there. They have really hard jobs. You know, we've recognized people in the past, and they see the best and the worst of people. And, you know, it's a hard job. So I thank all of them for doing such a great job. And I'm going to turn the time over to Jenna Ray and to Dawn, and here's some more plaques.
Well, like Rose said, not that they need explanation, but I've written a few words for them as my coworkers and as my friends. Everyday heroes, that's why I nominated these 4 people. Working for public relations at Carbon County Ambulance, I have the pleasure and duty of arranging a variety of community safety awareness events. And these selfless employees have continually volunteered their time and knowledge to this great community that we live in. Not only does this lighten my load, but it also pays tribute to the type of people that they are. Which brings me to the bigger reason why I nominated them. In our line of business, we have the opportunity to touch people's lives in big ways and in small ways every day. These people have not done just one big thing. They've done many great things. They're often overlooked because they do great things every single day, and it's part of who they are. They're kind and loving and completely selfless. And in our world where human contact and compassion are turning to more contact through social media and indirect text, these wonderful coworkers of mine have maintained the ideals of human interaction. It's so easy to become complacent and even hard-hearted when you go to the same patient over and over, or when you respond to yet another drug overdose. It would be really easy to become judgmental and unsympathetic to what others would consider self-inflicted ailments. I've watched these 4 friends of mine maintain compassionate eye contact with a patient with mental illness. I've witnessed them holding the wife of a patient who has just passed from this life. I've watched them calm the crying child in the corner while the other one works diligently on their parents. It's been my pleasure to observe them simply place their hand on the shoulder of a drug addict who's ashamed and embarrassed that they have traveled to the edge of death and back again from overdose again and again. I've observed them simply cleaning the bedridden patient in attempts to maintain any sense of dignity that they may have left. Yet they treat them all the same as fellow human beings. All of these things make these 4 people invaluable employees for Carbon County. Simple humanity is why I nominated Jennifer, Tanner, Christine, and Mikey today. They are a true example of a hero, giving every single day.
That's excellent.
Commissioners, I might add that, I really can't add a whole lot to what January has already stated, but January is over our public relations. And I'd just like to mention that the public relations that we do throughout the community, through the school boards or schools, excuse me, and the groups throughout our county, easily enough to know is, little kids at our elementary levels and such don't know much about, EMS or fire or police work and such. But the groups such as Kiwanis or Chamber of Commerce or the adult group know quite a bit what's going on. And so when we go out and do these PR programs for these folks, or they come to us asking stuff, I just want to remind or at least let the commission know that these folks that are here do all that on their personal time. That's something they come in to do extra. It's not, it's not part of their job. It's just something they give up as extra. And I appreciate that the county and the commission continues to do the recognition for employees. Very important part of work. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Wonderful. Let's give him one more hand. Well deserved. Very well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate all that you guys do.
Item number 2 on the agenda, Miss Carbon County, Kylie House.
Hi, I'm Miss Carbon County 2018, and I just got my crown a few months ago, so I'm super excited to be here talking with you. So the Miss Carbon County organization has served our community for over 60 years. We are a branch off of the Miss America organization, and we don't wear this crown just because it's pretty and because we like to walk around in a beautiful crown, but it actually symbolizes something. There are 4 points, and they represent service, scholarship, style, and success. Our organization offers personal and professional opportunities for local young women to share their talent and be involved in our community and promote a service platform of their choosing. And throughout the years, we've been able to grow and improve. So I chose my service platform to be Empowered Decision Making for Success. So through this platform, I'm hoping to empower teens, adults, and children to be able to make more positive decisions. So through this, I'm hoping to kind of encourage them to, instead of going out and partying and doing what all the teens are doing nowadays, but instead to focus their efforts on a more positive influence so that we can grow up to have a more positive future. And so I get to go to all the parades and all of that, and that's so fun. And so me and my royalty have been coming up with fundraisers so that we can get out there and be able to do more things in our community. And recently we've come up with a fundraiser that is a dance camp, because all of our royalty this year, we have 9 girls, and every single one of us is dancers. That's pretty cool. So we're gonna have a dance camp where children can come, and we're gonna help them stylize their solos and give them critiques for their solos before they go and compete. And so the county commissioners and community have been super supportive of the Miss Carbon County program, and I would like to again ask for financial assistance for this amazing organization. I will be representing this county at the Miss Utah pageant June 11th through the 16th, 2017 at Capitol Theater in Salt Lake City. I've begun preparations, and I've worked very hard to be prepared for this amazing opportunity. The state competition entrance fee is up to $1,420 per contestant, plus $495 for our Little Miss Carbon County. To participate, perform, and be involved throughout the entire week. You can see the breakdown of costs. We shared an invoice with you. We would like to ask for any support that can be given to help us accomplish our goals and represent our community well at the state level.
Just for the record, can you state your name? I know who you are, but you forgot that one little note when you started.
Yeah, I'm Mikkel Monson.
Thank you.
Thank you for what you stand for and your presentation. I think the invoice has already been submitted, and we did do some budgeting. I'm not sure that we'll be covering everything that we were able to last year, but I do know that we put aside those monies, so we'll definitely work with you on that. At least that's my vote would be.
I'm in agreement that we can certainly put forward something to help, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to represent Carbon County at the regional and state level and show everybody the talent and amazing individuals that we have here locally. I also think it's great that as an opportunity locally and for your own self-development that you've got this amazing time that you can spend serving others, and that you can show people with your platform on decision-making, empowered decision-making for success, how they can make better choices in their lives. And so we appreciate what you're doing to make our community a better place.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here.
Item number 3, consideration and possible approval of proposed amendments to Section 5 of the Carbon County Development Code. Christian, do you want to handle this, or do you want Todd to handle this?
I'll get started, and then Todd can jump in if he's got some other thoughts. We wanted to make some changes based on your comments from last time. Those have been submitted to you with highlighting on them. You'll note that the first substantial change is in Section 5.1.7. That provides, as you recall, that the zoning administrator will now be the land use authority as to all conditional use permits except for the ones that are reserved specifically for the Planning Commission. The ones reserved specifically for the Planning Commission are heavy industry type projects, large scale projects. So Todd, as the zoning administrator, can approve other kinds of lighter conditional use permits. However, we followed your suggestions from last time to state that if he approves a conditional use permit, he needs to publish notice of that in the paper. You'll notice, so we've provided that he's to put that on the county's website as well as in the newspaper, and then if anybody is adversely affected by a decision that he's made under 5.1.12, he will have, that person would have 30 days from the date of publication of notice of the issuance of the permit to come and file an appeal. So this provides that if Todd does approve those things, that the public will still receive notice of them. They'll be published, and the appeal time will run based on the publication of those. Alternatively, what I think may happen is a person may say, well, you know, I don't want to get approved by Todd and then risk having an appeal, somebody appeal the granting of a permit and risk losing that permit. So what I'll do, and this is the other provision we provided here in 5.1.7, is instead I'll go directly to the Planning Commission and have it heard, have my matter heard in a public meeting, and get approved by the Planning Commission, and if that happens, then the appeal date starts to run immediately from that time period, but they'll know that they've been approved at that point. So we've also provided that there need not be a public hearing on applications that are referred to the Planning Commission by Todd that he could have otherwise have heard as the zoning administrator. Or if the applicant or Todd want to be heard by the Planning Commission rather than by him, they can just go to the Planning Commission and be heard at a regularly scheduled meeting. You'll note further on that with respect to these heavier type conditional use permits, and again that includes things like mines, utility transmission projects, oil processing and storage yards, power plants, trucking terminals, those require a public hearing. And so at the end of 5.1.7, you'll notice that there has to first be a public hearing that's been noticed for 10 days prior to the Planning Commission giving approval. So what can happen though is the Planning Commission can hold the public hearing and can still give approval at that same meeting. So it doesn't delay the issuance of a conditional use permit, but what it does is it gives your suggestions to us were to make notice more transparent and easier for people to receive. So by stating that a public hearing will happen for these major type projects, we're following the framework we've always followed here, and the public will have the chance to come and comment on those things, but we're also preserving the speed with which we initially set out to approve these projects, in that the Planning Commission will still be the one-stop shop. They'll have the public hearing, they'll approve or deny the permit, and then a person can, from that point on, can appeal it. Let's see, a couple other, if there are any other changes here. The one in the middle of 5.1.8 is actually one that was there before. The one at the end of 5.1.8 says, when considering an application, I simply changed that to state that the Land Use Authority, rather than the Planning Commission, may recommend to the applicant that the applicant revise his application, and that his application be tabled, but the Land Use Authority shall not postpone a decision unless the applicant consents to the postponement. So whether it's the zoning administrator or the Planning Commission acting as the Land Use Authority, they will not have the right, and they don't have this right under state law, to just table an application. It has to either be denied or approved so that the applicant can move forward either with an appeal, or with, if he's approved, he can move forward on his project. Casey, I went back through, last time you asked, well, what if for whatever reason, the zoning administrator doesn't act on an application? We do have language in there that says that he will either approve it or deny it within 30 days, and if he does not, then that application will go forward to the Planning Commission for consideration. So it doesn't become an automatic approval, it just moves on to the Planning Commission to consider.
Okay.
Lena Topolovic last time spoke, a member of the public, and said, well, what if a conditional use permit was granted based on a false statement, or and it's already been granted? And so I thought that was a good point. So at the end of 5.1.16, I added a provision that says if the applicant made a false, misleading, or deceptive statement in providing material information required for consideration of the permit can be revoked. But again, that still has to be done by the Planning Commission. You'll notice the appeals there. I changed the appeal section based to state how the time period will start to be counted based on what kind of appeal you have. Again, if you appeal a decision of the zoning administrator himself, you've got 30 days from the date of publication of the notice of the issuance of the permit. If you are appealing a decision of the Planning Commission, you have 30 days from the date the Planning Commission made its decision there. And I think that's the gist of the changes that were made. Todd, did you have anything you want to add?
My only comment on those potential conditional uses that I would have the authority to approve, I still have to work with all the county departments, work with Daniel, work with Curtis, work with the noxious weed, work with Chris on all those. So it won't be just me approving them. I have to have all the signatures and all the other standards there before I can do any approval. So I'm not just the only one approving them. It's the same process as before. It's just expedited on the smaller side, smaller projects.
And in a like manner, anything that goes through the state, air quality, water quality, those all have to happen before they get approval through you as well.
Yep.
Okay.
So, Commissioners, there's one problem, is that this was supposed to be, in order to approve this, you have to approve this as an ordinance. And I went back and checked to see how it was advertised last time on the agenda, and I failed to list it there as an ordinance amending our code, and it should have been listed as an ordinance. So we don't have an ordinance number here. We may need to put it on the agenda one more time, assuming you approve of it tonight, and give it an ordinance number for our next meeting. So my apologies to Todd and to you for fouling up how that got put on here, but I think it really needs to be approved as an ordinance number. But for tonight, we would like to take your comments on that, and I'd be interested to know if you have any other changes or suggestions.
I don't have any other real questions on it. So what you're really saying is, because it's not advertised as an ordinance, that's really what we need to do, is re-advertise it?
Yes,
those things.
I think so. I mean, I think this
It's
is a
really
good
an advertising issue as much as anything at this
Yeah,
point. Okay.
yeah. I think you can certainly discuss it and give us further direction on it if you want, but I'm sorry about that.
I think we
hate
would
to keep bringing it back.
Speaking for me, I think some of the questions that I had were clarified, and I'm okay with the document as it is.
Christian and Todd have done an excellent job at responding to some of our queries and comments that we made last time. I would, just for discussion purposes, identify that I had some hesitation to put in more encumbrances or more to make it a larger process than perhaps it needed to be. However, in reviewing a lot of the legal documents with Christian, it appears that we're not actually enlarging the process any, and to post some of these changes on the public legal website and make it available is not actually increasing the process, and it can still be done in a one-stop manner. And as Todd has mentioned, of course, every single process, every single conditional use permit or any other type of permit there is a process of, up to 5 individuals who review it and permit it, whether that be the county engineer, the county road, public lands, noxious weeds, and of course Todd as the planning official himself. So it's been a thorough process, and I think I like where things stand and how they look now. And so I look forward to having an ordinance number advertised for later consideration.
So do we need to have a motion stating it as an ordinance that it will be put on as to be passed as ordinance number, or is this just a no action at this point?
It might be best if you waited till the ordinance is
Okay.
before you to take the action, I think.
So I'll move that we advertise it properly so that we can possibly approve as an ordinance.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. Item number 4, review and possible approval of a lease agreement for new 7th District Courthouse building between Carbon County and Administrative Office of the Courts. Seth has some update on that. He has talked to Alan Lunsford at the state office, and he is okay with the terms. And they will, as far as I understand, they will reword their agreement and send us a copy back. So I don't know that we have any action to take on this tonight, but
Yeah, that's correct. We received the legal memo from the attorney's office. They made some revisions to some wording in that document. We've discussed it with the Utah Administrative Office of the Courts. They feel like our additions are reasonable, and they will make changes to that document, send it to us. They said that they would have it ready for review for our next commission meeting. So,
and they're leaning towards option 1 or option A, which would be to purchase the building at the end, which means that they will also pay for the maintenance,
all
and
maintenance and
janitorial
janitorial in that during the lease period.
Okay. Any questions?
Were we able to throw in any type of consideration for bailiffs? I know that's not something that has been commonly done, but I wonder if we could do that within this contract to at least have it considered.
I didn't write up anything on that, but I think we could probably propose something to them or ask them to consider that as part of it.
I think
We probably ought to talk to them tomorrow.
As we're in the process, if you're in the communications with them, if we could run that past them. In your legal opinion, it did mention that for value, if we give them first right of refusal, if we give them these different options, that it is for value, and that might be part of the consideration. That way, we don't have to take on all the additional
That
bailiffing
full
expense of
expense.
that building.
Yeah. Sure, we'll do that.
Okay.
So we'll put that item to the next,
Yes.
Do we
As
postpone
long
it,
as
table it, or?
I think we table it to the next meeting. till
Table it
we've got
until
a
we get a revised
final,
document.
right.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table it.
I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 5, review of bids and possible award of a contract for 2018 scrap metal removal from the landfill. Christian, do you want to cover this? You
Sure.
sent out a memo.
It's a Christian day.
Yeah. Daniel and Daniel Campbell from the road department, who's here with me and can talk to you about it as well. We sat down and looked at the bids together. Again, just for review, Stevenson Recycling bid at $91 per ton. Basin Industries bid $58 per ton. So Stevenson was the high bid. There's question in our minds, though, as to how durable or long-lasting that number would be for either of the bids. If you look at Basin Industries' own bid, it stated that their bid was good for 30 days. And I don't know if that meant the bid, I can't tell whether that means the bid price of $58 is good for 30 days or just their bid in general. So both of those had some questions as to whether or not that dollar amount will be the same dollar amount if we call them in 2 or 3 months. Nevertheless, as we looked at it, I did note that Stevenson verified that he would remove all the CFCs at his own location as we requested. Basin Industries did not get that specific and provide us assurances as to that. Stevenson also removes all the, after the big pile's been cleaned up, it's my understanding they go through with the large magnet and pick up pieces off of the ground, and so they use a big magnet that really cleans up and does a great job. Basin Industries proposed to do the cleanup with a scoop loader, which my concern is there, after talking to Daniel, that it just isn't going to pick up as much, and so there's always going to be something probably left on the ground. Does that sound right? The other thing is Stevenson Construction, or Stevenson Recycling, has been our contractor on this for the last couple of years. Daniel reports that he's done a fantastic job and very quick to mobilize in and out. Comes very quickly after we ask him to. Pays based on a full 2,000 pounds and not by the industry ton, which is a little less than that. And so given the fact that he does have the higher dollar amount, he has proven himself to be, and our bid did state whichever contractor has the best credentials is one that we can consider. So given he's got the higher price, a proven track record, nothing against Basin, but I think we have the right to prefer Stevenson here in this matter. So my formal recommendation to you is that you approve Stevenson Recycling as the party to award the contract for the scrap metal for this year.
Okay. We have a recommendation. Any further questions, commissioners?
I don't have any further comments on it, and I'm willing to make a recommendation if Commissioner Potter doesn't have any
I don't
discussion.
have any other questions.
I'll go ahead and accept the opinion of our legal counsel and move that we award the contract to Stevenson's, whatever the name of their business is.
It is Stevenson Recycling.
Stevenson
Metal Recycling.
Stevenson Metal Recycling.
I'll second the motion to award the bid to Stevenson Metal Recycling.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I'd just like to express appreciation to Daniel and Christian for reviewing that, because from all appearances in the very first bids, the dollar value quite a bit different, and it seemed, you know, at face value that one was much more favorable than the other, but after digging into the details, you were able to find where the value add was with Stevenson, so I appreciate you doing that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, it's been a long time since we had a